Just about all of them. The only ones that weren't completed are the ones that really pertain to construction. And I'll run through them if you want.
No, I just want to know, I just want to know what, I'm trying to get an idea of what action's been taken.
There's compliance with certain parts of the code we've done. We had a dedicated 30-foot strip along Houston Road, which we prepared the dedication and the deeds for that. It's been reviewed and approved by Rick's office. We had to petition the town board for creation of a drainage district, which we've done. We had to submit a maintenance agreement because there's a couple of shared driveways. We've done that. We had to, let's see, we had to put up the environmentally sensitive signs. We haven't done that. We're going to do that when we do construction. Conservation easements for the 54 acres. This project also provides 54 acres of open space. Those conservation easements have been drafted and reviewed and approved. Let's see. Construction, this one, number 8, relates to the construction of the road, which we've agreed to. Construction of the swales, which we've agreed to. Footing drains and roof drains have to be carried out in separate pipes. That's shown on the drawings and noted. So that's been done. The applicant has to direct the outlet channel from the stormwater management facility toward the stream and Houston Road. It's been designed. When we go in there in phase 1, that's part of the phase 1 construction, is the main pond, so that will be built. And then we have to install a 36-inch pipe in Road A, which is actually part of phase 2, but will ultimately be done to construction. So there's about 4 that aren't done, but they're related to the construction component of it. Everything else has been done.
Okay. Board, any questions?
Steve, before you explain building the road in sections, were you also building the roads and building the houses before you went to the second section?
No.
I'm trying to get an understanding. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get an understanding of that.
Yeah. Well, Lou, how we would do that is now the phase 1 has conditional final approval, so the maps have to be filed with the county clerk's office by July of this year. So we will build the portion of the road that's in phase 1, all right? And then as part of that, well, if there's, say, the top coat, that we won't do the top coat. So we've already established a bond amount for that. We'll post that. Dennis, the engineer will review it, approve it. And then we'll go ahead and file the map. The lots, once we file the map, we then can convey lots. We can't sell lots until we file that map. So, there's a little bit of, they like to get that done also. So those lots 1 through 20 will be available for sale once we file the map. Lots 21 through 29 will not be. They'll still have preliminary. Hopefully they'll have conditional final by then, but they won't be available for sale until we file that map.
And as you sell the lots, you start the houses if they want to build them, right?
Right. The Feeney's build houses. They'll build houses, but they'll also, sell lots as well.
Now, the phase 2 road, when will that be built? After phase 1 is totally built?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that that's not after phase 1 is totally built with all the houses on it?
Oh, no. Just when the residential build out is a different time frame. But just in terms of the improvements, the road improvements, if we would like to build phase 1, this year, and phase 2 next year.
But I'm sorry. As you build phase 1 with the road, you can't, after that, like you said, you have to file it. You can sell lots.
Oh yeah.
Which I can understand, because that brings in money, and you can start doing phase 2 also.
Right.
All right. I understand.
And that's really, traditionally, that's how you would.
Of course.
You would have the flexibility to do that. That's what phasing is all about.
So the plan is to build the first road this year, and you have preliminary approval for the next stage, the road that you plan on building next year. Are those going to be contingent upon selling the lots? Let's say only a third of the lots are sold. You have preliminary approval, which means you don't have to build that road because they're not on any time constraint.
No.
And the question really is, does that affect any of the drainage or the property itself as far as drainage, recharge, everything? Does it affect the environmental portion of that? Because I'm sure it's all tied in, all the drainages and the infrastructure is tied in to both roads in the whole subdivision. So if you only do one and opt not to do the other, or for whatever reason, what does that do?
Well, let me, you have two kind of questions there, so
Right.
let me do the timing one first.
Okay.
If we're not successful in receiving the extension to the zoning exemption, I'm going to come tomorrow and I'm going to get on the planning board and I'm going to get conditional final approval next Thursday. We prefer not to have to go through that because it doesn't make sense, in terms of us wanting to develop properly and develop the property. So what we're requesting is a year. So a year from now, we would have to have conditional final approval. So in other words, we're just pushing that part of the clock back a year. So we would have to phase 2 would have to get conditional final approval a year from January, whenever the extension, let's say if you gave it a year extension, it would be, January of 2011, you'd have to get conditional final approval. We would have to then file the map within 360 days, so it would have to be filed by July of 2012.
What are answering his question relative, though, the impact of...
So let me talk about
Okay.
it. The phasing, we sat down, we thought about it, we looked at, how it's designed, the road configuration. Because, really, basically, we looked at safety of the road, getting in and out, how the drainage works, what has to get implemented to stand alone. And basically, phase 1 and phase 2 are standalone phases.
So if phase 2 never got built, it would not negatively impact phase 1.
The only thing you'd see is a little tiny stub, where a road could have been right.
Okay, so your request is for 12 months.
Yes.
What's the board think?
I want to go back to Neil for a second with your memo of 111, where it's saying to us those 5 things there. For your, it starts with page 1, I guess, it goes on page 2. What are the implications for us here? The first thing you say there is the applicant will be exempt from all of the new zoning code. That's already, whether or not we do something here, that's already taking place, correct?
That's incorrect. On those 9 lots, and we're talking 2 separate things. The 20 lots on final approval, they have final approval already, those are really standalone, and as Steve said, we could stop it, they could stop at that point, and there would be no negative impact to the town. The negative impact to them is obviously those last 9 lots. But the last 9 lots have preliminary approval. They are not exempt from the new code unless you extend that exemption. The impact of that is for those, similar to what Presumes had to do. The impact of that would be for those 9 lots, they would have to go and do some well testing. No ands, ifs, or buts around that. It would have to happen based on the fact that they would not be exempt from that part of the code. As Steve said, I don't anticipate any changes in the number of lots that are out there or anything else. I suspect that even with the well testing and new compliance with the new code, you're going to see the same 9 lots out there. The only difference, I think, is probably going to be that they would not do the well testing part and get that approval for the 9 lots.
So basically, we've already come to an agreement, and at this particular point, the bulk of the project's going to go based on our agreement. And the rest will go, but they won't go as soon as we would like to see them. But the agreement won't change. Am I understanding that?
I believe that the approval will not change.
So if we give them the extension, all we're doing is extension something that we've negotiated and agreed to.
And to my knowledge, there will be no changes. That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, and to your satisfaction, we talked about the 18 conditions. You concur with it, most of them have been taken care of, except these 3 or 4?
As Mr. Esposito was going through, I did look at it, and I agree, I think almost all of them are there. Some of them are just, road names must be approved, they're pretty insignificant.
Do we set any type of precedent with the extension of this? Because we're only dealing with a certain number of subdivisions that we negotiated with, so it's not really a precedent for everybody, is it, Dennis?
No, it doesn't have to be, no.
Well,
It can be, it could be argued, but no. In this instance, it would be, if you will, a minority percentage of the overall project. it would only be the 9 lots
Right.
as opposed to, out of 29 lots. Preliminary is in place. Most of the conditions for final, again, have been complied with. And it's,
I'm just talking about any other.
right, again, but why I go through that litany.
Well, you got another one
so that-
tonight.
We're going right
You
on.
could ask the question.